All right, welcome everybody to another edition of Beat Your Addiction with John Giordano. I'm your co-host, Scott Jones. I want to welcome everybody and certainly wish everybody a happy holiday and hopefully a great and prosperous new year for everybody. John, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great.
Yeah?
Actually, I'm doing wonderful. I got so many things going on, and my new book, Sandy from Below Deck, Captain Sandy there wants to be my producer, and we are looking for someplace to maybe do a movie or Netflix with it. You know,
Sandy, is he actually the guy who plays the captain on Below
Deck?
Yeah.
She's Sandy, the captain Below Deck, right?
Wow.
Yeah, it's cool. Really cool. It's the kid from the South Bronx who never gave up.
Now, you can find that on, of course, John's website. You can see it on the screen here, johnjgiordano.com. You can find his book, plus your other book, How to Beat Your Addiction, Live a Quality Life. Or you can go on Amazon and find it, too.
Amazon, you can go to a whole Barnes & Noble. You can do, there's a whole bunch of places now.
I think you're selling it in your garage, too, if people show up.
In my garage,
right?
yes. Out of the trunk of my car.
The trunk of your car. There you go. Well, we've got a great guest today.
She's really good. She's really, really good.
We're excited to talk to her, and let's just not delay this anymore. Let's bring in Cathi Marcus from Cathi Marcus Coaching. Hi, Cathi.
Hi, guys. It's great to be with you. Hi.
It's very nice to have you here, and I hope you're having happy holidays with family and friends.
Oh, absolutely. Things thankfully just keep getting better, and I hope for everybody else it does too.
Well, it's got to get better, doesn't it, after the last 2 years? You know, hopefully people are using these last 2 years as kind of a kick in the butt to say, you know, nothing's guaranteed. You got to get moving and do what you need to do in your life, right?
Definitely.
No decision is a decision.
Yeah, no decision is a decision. Absolutely. It's a decision for stagnancy, for misery, and everything else. But
right.
No, that's terrific. And we're so glad you could join us.
Thank you. I'm glad
to Cathi, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do and yourself and what's going on? And I'm so happy to have you on. And
thank you so much. Well, first of all, I want to say I love your book, John. I've been reading your book, the South Bronx book, and it's fantastic. So I want to recommend that book to anybody because it's so genuine and authentic and just puts everything out there, which is like really what I'm about, is that authenticity and vulnerability and maybe saying too much. I've been told that I sometimes say too much, but you know, what I'm all about these days is just really, you know, managing my own energy, managing my own life, focusing on myself, not on others, and helping other people to do the same thing, you know, to get out of the stress, to live a more authentic life, to feel more fulfilled. To not be so full of fear all the time, because, you know, the times that we're living in right now, there's just so many stressed out people and so much fear, you know, that they're coping. They're doing the best they can coping with their addictions, but they certainly want a better way to live, which is why I was looking forward to coming here and being with you, maybe helping some of those people.
Well, tell us what you do, because I know you do a lot of work at coaching and
okay, yeah. So just quickly, my background's healthcare. For over 20 years, I've been in the healthcare industry, but on the pharmaceutical side. And I kept saying to myself, okay, I had all these addictions. I call myself the Medusa of addictions. I literally had snakes coming out in every direction.
I like that.
And I was like, and finally in recovery and finally doing well. And I'm like, am I really supposed to be selling pharmaceutical drugs or maybe helping more people on the addiction side? It just was something that it was a whisper that kept coming, which I think happens for a lot of people. And we're just too afraid to follow the whisper. We're like robots, you know, the conformity, and we want to fit in with everybody else. And meanwhile, we're miserable. And then we have to be snorting and drinking and whatever, shopping and whatever else we do to kind of feel better about not following our heart. So what I do is I went back to school a couple of years ago. I left big pharma. I left behind the big money. I took a big chance and I decided to follow my passion, which was, you know, learning how to live my life purpose, helping other people to be more authentic. And how it ties in with addiction recovery is I think most addicts have abandoned themselves completely. They don't even know that they've abandoned themselves, but they have. And they need to find a way back to their truth and their peace and their joy so they can live their best life, but also, together we can all heal.
John, you got a similar story because I believe you were involved in pharmaceutical distribution at one point in your life too, weren't you?
Yes, I used to deal a lot of cocaine, and pot, and I was in the wrong end of the pharmaceutical companies, I guess,
Yeah, I called myself a certified drug dealer, when I got into pharmaceuticals at that point.
Yeah, well, what you do and what we do here. I think the human race actually is in some serious trouble. This pandemic has brought out the worst of us, and in some places the best of us. Yeah. And what's going on is that people, and we were just talking about this, and alcohol is becoming a big deal now. What I mean by that is a lot of people are becoming alcoholic because they've been stuck in their homes and they're drinking and they're afraid to go out, and the government and the press is scaring everybody to death.
Yeah. Well, and you and I talked about this, John, where I don't even watch the news. I'm very, very, I know that sounds crazy, but I have people who I trust that filter information to me that are not extremists, that are not people that are going to scare me and freak me out, which I think the news is meant to do. It's meant to get people all freaked out and then trying to get us to do certain things after that point. So, I'm careful about what I let into my space. And I think that's really important for other people too, is to learn that you can decide, I want to let this in and I don't want to let, I'm not going to let that in. I'm going to let this in, and how to navigate that.
Absolutely. And, when we teach on this program, and what I know that you teach also is, first of all, people have to do self-care. Yes. Okay. Number one, if you build up your immune system and you're eating properly, and you're not eating processed food or sugars and all this other kind of stuff, and weakening your immune system, exercising and meditating and using all the information we have today to create a healthy and human being. Most people are they're not healthy, and this disease, this pandemic, is killing them.
Well, and it goes back to mindset. Mindset is so critical. Before all of that other stuff can ever take place, there needs to be a mindset of wellness. I remember when I had my eating disorder, it was a mindset of being skinny. I was trying to just look a certain way. And I remember the day that I decided, I'm going to switch the goal from being skinny to being healthy. And what a difference that made in my life to start focusing on health instead of the body. Things just started to shift. So I think people need a lot of help with even shifting their focus. What are they focusing on? Are they focusing on the fear? Are they focusing on the opportunity?
If I can interrupt for a second, both of you, because a term that's come around more often now is mindset. And I was looking at your website, Cathi, and it said, mindset coach and different things.
Yes.
Can both of you probably give us, I guess, the Reader's Digest version of what is mindset? What does that actually mean when people are talking about mindset?
Yeah. Well, from my perspective, it really, again, is where you're putting your attention. It's perspective. So, with a different perspective, the whole world can change. You can just be so limited based on what you grew up seeing or knowing and think this is the way it is, even with addiction. You grow up in a home where people are drinking or drugging or eating to cope, and you think that's just the way it is. That's how you cope. And then all of a sudden you come into recovery and you meet recovered addicts or alcoholics, and they start introducing you to other possibilities, and your vision expands. Your mindset changes, and all of a sudden there's new opportunities that are available to you. So to me, mindset is really perspective. And when I went back to school and I learned neuroscience and quantum physics and how we actually create our lives, there's a principle that we're creating through our perspective.
Well, and also, it's called universal knowledge, and it goes across the whole planet. Mindset. Okay, most people say, well, this doesn't work. They go self-help groups. Oh, the self-help group doesn't work. Oh, I went to treatment, that didn't work. What they're missing is they didn't work. You see, people want people to fix them, No,
Yes.
you don't fix anybody. I don't fix anybody. What we do, we show them a path that we did for ourselves and for many other people that actually works. But you got to work it. See, the problem I think with people today, they want immediate gratification. So if it doesn't work within the next 5 minutes, then therefore it's not good.
That's like the drugs. I mean, that they just expect it to be like the drugs. I take this in and immediately I feel good, and they don't have patience yet. So I love what you just shared, John. It's so true that, I go back to the how it works, that honesty, the open-mindedness, and the willingness to do things in a way that you have not always been doing it, and you are going to get new results, which is very true.
Well, you see, just like using, you when you're using, you go with like-minded people. They're using. So you need to go with like-minded people that want to be healthy. But if you're staying in a different set of norms, it's not going to work. You have to be on the same path as other people and be with those other people, you see? Because if you're not, what happens is that you just fall off. And
again, what you're saying is like the mindset of recovery. Come around people who have a mindset of healthy living and recovery versus people who are using, and so much can change, which is...
It's much easier to fall into the category of just saying the hell with it and I'm just going to use than to go do the work with other people. See, it's a process. It's not an event. And people don't get that. Like, I'm a martial artist. I didn't become a champion just putting the uniform on and stepping on the mat. You got to do the work. But people were pill-oriented. Look at the television commercials. Hey, tell your doctor to give you this pill. Oh, it might kill you, but it's going to cure your arthritis. I mean, this is like people are turning into sheep.
Well, I'll tell you, it makes sense because 80% of the world's painkiller medications, 80% of them are used in the United States, which only has 5% of the world's population. So 80% of the world's painkillers are being used here by 5% of the world's population. It's because we're in that mindset of take a pill. We want to take a pill.
Commercials between the news, when you're, that's why I don't watch the news, because in between is a pharmaceutical commercial. If you ever, so you could just do away with that whole thing, and you won't get that.
We're working cash registers for the pharmaceutical companies. Okay, and their job is to prolong this disease. All right, by treating the symptoms. They don't want to fix it. If they fix it, they go to business. Right. So people don't understand that the bottom line is this. See, if I have a headache, all right, I don't just take a pill. I want to know why I have the headache.
Right.
Okay, so it doesn't happen again. It's like, giving people, let's say people are starving, giving them fish. No, let's teach them how to fish. And it's the same thing.
Even when you say that, John, so in my coaching business, when somebody says they have a headache, I teach them how to be with their headache. I teach them how to, with compassion and without judgment, just be with the headache, put the attention on the headache, and allow it to be. Allow yourself to be. There's so much self-rejection that goes on in this world, and there's so many limiting beliefs that come up. Oh, I'm dying, something's wrong with me, rather than just to be with the energy that's moving through your body. People do not know how to feel their feelings. I was talking to my husband. They don't understand
their feelings.
Right. They don't understand them. They don't know how to be with them, and therefore continue to take something, use something to not feel.
Well, so people usually say, well, you don't understand. It's easy for you to say, you don't have my headache or you don't have my problem. Right. I tried all those things. None of them work, know, and it's that attitude, okay, that causes them to fail. And there are no failures. They're really only lessons, but they're not looking at these lessons. Why did it fail? What didn't I do? Forget about what that didn't do. What didn't I do to make it work?
Yeah.
See, and that's the attitude that's necessary. But most people don't realize that. And all they go is, well, you don't understand. Well, what is there not to understand? We're human beings. We all have our problems. We all have our challenges. So we all go through that. All right. But people like you and I and other people, we learned how to do this.
But you're talking about a victim consciousness. So there's different levels of consciousness, which is what I teach as a spiritual coach also. And the first level is victim consciousness. Why is this happening to me? How did this happen to me? Poor me. It's all like, you're doing it to me. They don't realize that they are creating their own lives, either unconsciously, or you can decide to do it consciously. And that's the shift I try to help people make, is like, you're creating your life all the time, whether you're aware of it or not, with what you're thinking, what you believe, what your values are. So why not do it consciously instead?
So one of the beliefs that I have is, esoterically, I guess you would call it, is that when you start thinking negatively, you're going to attract negativity.
Yes.
You know, and the bottom line is thoughts have energy. And I believe that that energy goes out into the universe,
Totally.
and it attracts like-minded energy. So I know that might sound a little crazy to people, but the bottom line is that positive thinking, okay, is really, really very important. And most people say, well, I can't think positively. I got all this stuff going on in my life. What I always tell addicts, if stuff is not going on in your life, you know what that tells me? You're dead.
Right.
Because it always goes on in everybody's life.
Right. Right.
You guys are bringing up a good point, though. But if somebody is trained, because we are trained, our mindsets are trained into us through our experiences and through our families and through our everything else. And you got somebody who's gone through negativity with their family. They got a horrible perspective on life. They go into alcoholism and drug addiction. They go years and years. Now you got somebody in their 40s or 50s, and you're asking them to change their mindset.
Totally.
What is the spark that can make that happen? Because from their mindset, nothing will ever change. So where do you find that spark to help somebody change?
That's simple. It's called pain. When there's enough pain, people start to look for alternatives.
Right. Or how's that working for you? You know, how's your way working for you so far? You know, they turn you back in recovery to like, okay, you're using your thinking and this is where it's taking you. How's that working for you? You want to try something new?
Well, that's what I tell them. Your best thinking got your butt in that chair that we're talking to, okay?
But it's what you just said, John. I was talking to my husband at breakfast this morning, that pain thing. We were talking about how we really made that turn into recovery. And for me, it was so easy because I thought I was going to die from using the drugs. That's the point I was at. I was sent into a hospital emergency room. I was having seizures for probably a year. I didn't even know they were seizures. And I was more scared of using the drug again than going into recovery. That's literally what it took. I had to be more scared of using the drug to say, okay, I'm committed to this lifestyle. And then I moved forward because I was terrified of using the drugs. And then thankfully it worked.
What I think happens to people, you know, they lose their belief systems. First, they lose it, you know, if they lose it in themselves, and they lose it with everybody else. And they're looking at, you know, perfection instead of progress. I remember when I was in treatment, and then after I got out of treatment, I was saying I got divorced, I was homeless. And I said, well, what? This is recovery? This sucks.
Right.
You know? My kids used to come and cry with me. You know, I didn't have any money, and I was saying to myself, "Well, you know, this really is bad." So my therapist said to me, "I was crying. Oh man, look at this, look at that." He says, "John, did you use today?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, it already got better." Right. And I didn't look at it from that perspective because every time I used, my life got worse.
We were looking at how it affected us, John, still at that point, still so self-centered. We weren't thinking about how many people were better off without us drinking, without us lying, sneaking, stealing. We didn't even think about that in the beginning of recovery, but then it comes.
Because you get selfish and self-centered. That's what addiction's all about. Okay, it's me, and forget everybody else. And then most addicts go, well, I just want to die and kill myself because this way I'd be better off with everybody else. And that's the most selfish thing you could do. Because then people carry that with them for the rest of their lives. You know their wives, their children.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to a funeral once. I went to a lot of funerals. And the funeral I was at, I saw these two little kids go up to the coffin and they go, "Mommy, why is Daddy sleeping in there?"
Oh, my God.
It just broke my heart. I mean, what addicts don't realize that, I know what we don't realize, the damage we do, that people that really love us and care about us.
And this is why also we need sponsors and mentors. We were talking about this morning too. You have to have other people to look at who have done what you're looking to do, who have felt what you're feeling, who understand it, who can keep encouraging you that you're meant to feel this way. I mean, in the beginning of recovery, everybody's either frozen as ice or they're crying all the time. You know, what's wrong with me? And to have somebody else say to them, this is totally normal. This is par for the course. Like, this actually means you're doing the work.
Well, that's why I wrote the book, The Kid from the South Bronx Who Never Gave Up. It's my life story. How I got molested, how my father went to jail when I was how I become a drug addict, and all the things I got betrayed, and all the stuff that happened to me in my life, but how I came out the other end.
Totally.
And, now being in recovery now, at December 4th, I was 37 years in recovery. I never thought I would have 37 minutes, but here we are, and here you are. So there is hope, okay?
Yeah.
And people say, well, I'm not as strong as you. Well, you know what? I didn't start off strong either. Even though I'm a karate guy and all this stuff, it's a mindset, like you said earlier. And you got to click into that mindset. Knowledge is power, but without action is worthless.
Oh, totally. And same with me. I wrote my book, Addictionland, which just came out also. And I go into the raw details, stuff that's very embarrassing. I held this book back for a long time because I was worried what my family would think if I put these stories out there. I finally got over that. But I think people need to hear how bad it's gotten for us. So they realize, oh, I'm not the only one who did this.
Exactly.
Oh, wow, she did this.
So we're not coming from a book. We're coming from life. And
Totally.
that's what people need to understand is, look, we've been there, and I'm still there. My daughter was paralyzed. She got Guillain-Barré syndrome. Okay, my son just tore his muscle in his arm. Okay, he has to get operated on. And my wife is still going through some depression now. Shit happens in life. But you know what? We deal with it, and all the knowledge that I got, I'm helping my kids. I'm helping my wife. I'm helping myself.
That's right.
So that, there's no shame in my game with that stuff, because all I know is this: human beings go through all this stuff. If they want to keep it secret, fine, whatever you want, whatever floats your boat. But the bottom line is, I want people, if I'm going to help people, I want to show people, yeah, man, I'm going through stuff too. But here I am working on it, not collapsing and using drugs and hiding.
It's so true. And even just 4 years ago, I told you this, John, I'm in recovery 22 years this month myself. But a couple of years ago, down the rabbit's hole with a situation came up health-wise. And the neural pathways of addiction are always there. That's why it's a one day at a time program. You cannot just take this for granted that I've got 22 years, I'm smooth sailing. No, at any moment, something in life could trigger you back onto that neural pathway of addiction, and you got to have your supports in place and your habits in place. You can't just wait for the event to think you're going to stay sober. If you don't have a daily practice of, hooking into other people in recovery and the mindset and meditation, good luck to you when something like you just described walks into your life.
Well, what I tell people is this: while you're sleeping, your addiction is doing push-ups. Okay. Right. And not only that, it's and most people, like you said, one day at a time. I always say one moment at a time, because moment to moment things change rapidly. So it's just, look, life keeps showing up. We keep showing up. It's how we show up that makes the difference. And that's just the bottom line.
Yeah. And I just think that 24-hour living is really, really important for the person who's new to stay out of yesterday and stay out of tomorrow, and just what can I do for these 24 hours for my recovery? What meetings do I need to get to? Who can I call? I mean, again, in the beginning, I used to go to bed my first year of recovery. I think I went to bed at 7 p.m. because I just was afraid to be with myself all day. Like, I didn't trust myself. So if I tucked myself into the covers at 7, maybe I'd make it to the morning. And that's how I started.
That's very interesting. A lot of people do that. It's very funny you said that. I'm hiding from life, And,
hiding from myself, like you said, John.
I always tell people life's a gift. Whatever God that people have in their life, if they have any, God gave us the gift of life, whatever God is to you. All right. It's what we do with that life is our gift back to the God of our understanding.
Yeah.
And that's just the bottom line. Look, we all go, especially these times today with people, they can't pay their bills. I've traveled pretty much all around the world. And what we call poor here,
I know.
Over there, they call middle class.
I know.
Okay. So, poor is where you have to go to the creek to get your water, if you have water. Okay, if you eat a morsel of food, if you can get some food,
That's
you know,
right.
people living in tents or
That's
living
right.
out, you know, someplace. It's horrific what goes on in the world today, and we're so blessed to be in this country. And
Yes.
people don't understand that people always look at what they don't have instead of what they do have.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and
I
they're
was
always
just
looking at other people, what they have. Forget about what other people have.
right.
You know, that ain't going to do anything for me. It's what I have. It's going to do something for me.
Yeah. I just was going to add, though, also that I don't think people realize that not being chaotic yourself contributes so much to the world. If everybody was just focusing on themselves and trying to be more at peace and at ease within themselves and doing their own inner work, things would change. We just naturally start thinking more about each other when we get to that space.
Well, if you understand yourself, you'll learn to understand other people because we're basically all
Right.
the same. We want to be loved. We want to be wanted. We want to be respected, understood.
Yeah.
If you start pushing your religion on somebody, you start pushing ideology on somebody, and everybody goes into their little tribal camps, okay, and all the divisiveness we have in this country,
Yeah.
uh, the ending is going to be disastrous.
Right.
We can't keep doing that with each other. We got to start learning to work together. Okay, divided we fall, together we stand. It's really that simple.
Well, and even compassion. I know I've struggled so much through my whole course of recovery with judgment, judging myself and judging others. I mean, and I know that's very common, and if they changed, I'll be happy, which is never, ever the way. I mean, if I could tell anybody anything, take the time to spend on yourself, keep the focus on yourself, do the step work on yourself, that's when life gets better and better and the addictions fall away naturally when you're focused on recovery. That's something else that I learned too. Instead of focusing on what you wish was different, what you want to stop, shift that attention over to what you want to create, what's working and what you want to create. And things flow so much better when the attention is in that direction.
I tell people, look, I thought I was cursed when I was a kid. So I went to a priest and asked him to get this evil out of me, being molested. And my father was a heroin dealer. My uncle was a hitman. My whole family's like a mafia type family. And how did God put me in a family like this? And, so the priest says, do 5 Hail Marys and 10 Our Fathers, you'll be fine. That didn't work too good. And so, life keeps showing up. And I keep telling people this. And people go, well, you don't understand. I said, what is there not to understand? I says, look, you got all this stuff going on. First of all, if you don't take care of your health, I don't care how much money you have. It's worthless.
Right.
Because you only go to the doctors.
Totally.
And that's the bottom line. So I focus on my health. So I always make a joke out of it. I focus so much on my health, I'll probably get hit by a plane. So, I do my best to set an example. I don't do things perfect. I'm still an asshole sometimes in some of the things I do.
Yes.
But, it's a work in progress, and I realize that, and I don't use that as an excuse. It's just the truth.
We're human
that's
beings.
all we can do.
We're human beings, and a lot of people, especially women in recovery, have perfectionism. And they're just waiting for the steps to create wings on their back, and they're going to start flying around like angels or something. And I'm like, let that go, because that's only going to cause you suffering. We're in the human dimension. We're not in the angelic dimension. And we're going to do all sorts of stuff. Compassion goes such a long way for a great life towards yourself. Towards others, it's wonderful too. But I didn't have any compassion towards myself. I had so much judgment of everything. And what you're talking about in the last couple of years for me of my recovery has really kicked in to help me enjoy life. Like, stop beating myself up for being angry or being insecure. I feel insecure a lot. Let me tell you, I left corporate America, $250,000 a year to start my own business, and it trickles. And I'm like, am I doing this? But I'm following my heart. My spirit feels in sync with what's right for me. And I let go of the outcomes. And that all came from recovery, turning my will and my life over to a higher power.
Well, you know what it is. Recovery for me also, and what I'm hearing from you is the same thing. We got to look inward instead of outward.
Totally.
And that's just the bottom line. It's like a lot of women have it very difficult because they all had, they're looking at their bodies, who's too heavy, who's too light. And it's really interesting because different cultures look at different things. Some cultures like very softic women. Other cultures like people that are thinner. I mean, it's just crazy. If you're going to try to please everybody, you're going to be neurotic. Okay?
Completely.
So the bottom line is if you start looking at the soul of people, the character of people, instead of the outside stuff, look, we all going to look at the outside stuff, okay? And we have a mindset of what we want to be with, and everything else is secondary. You got to learn to get them both together. I'm very fortunate. My wife is beautiful and inside and out.
Yes.
And I love her no matter what, even though she suffers from depression, okay, periodically, hey, I'm married for better or for worse in sickness and in health. And I adore her. And, I'm very fortunate to have someone like that. Before, it was just about me and, oh, what can you do for me? And how come, that when you're in recovery, that goes on the wayside. You start to realize what's really valued.
Yeah.
This has been a great, we're burning through our time here, guys.
Yeah, I know.
And it's great. It's a great discussion. We'll probably have to revisit this sometime in the future. I think it would be a good idea. But Cathi, I wanted to give you a moment because you had talked about you left corporate America, you left big pharma, and you went out and you followed your heart and your mindset and started this business. CathiMarcusCoaching.com is where you can go to learn about you. Why don't you tell us the kind of services that you offer and what you do?
Thank you. Most specifically, what I'm hoping to help people do is align with their truth. Just to be spiritually aligned with their truth, but that shows up in a lot of different ways. And like John said, I don't give anybody anything. I'm a guide. I'm a guide that helps somebody explore their own inner dimension. I show them different ways to look at what's going on inside and question it and examine it instead of just accepting it as true. All this stuff that we learned as kids from our parents, from our teachers, from society. I get them to start questioning, well, is that true for you? And could you look at it this way? And one other thing is this is how the brain works, but we get these coping mechanisms wired in at a young age. Some of those coping mechanisms are called people pleaser, perfectionist, critic, avoider, doubter. We think that's just the way we are. It's not. It's our wiring. Something happened early in life. It scared the hell out of us, and we decided, I'm going to avoid all those angry people. I'm not even going to go in their vicinity. And what are we missing in our life, in our development, in our growth by avoiding all the time? So that's the kind of stuff we look at in my coaching is I just get people to look at approaching instead of avoiding, things like, what would it look like to love yourself instead of abandon yourself? I find that there's a lot of people in recovery, long-term recovery, that have not really done a third step or can't work the 11th step because they haven't really defined a higher power for themselves. They've adopted one from their family that's not working for them. And so when the shit hits the fan, they don't really know what to turn to. What am I turning my will and my life over to? So those are the kind of things. And then, of course, I'm a writer, and I wrote and published my first book. And I really hope it reaches a lot of people who are struggling with multiple addiction, not just one addiction, because it shows how dark and disastrous it can be, but also a way out.
What's the name of your book?
I love you guys. Here's my book, you guys. I have it on my desk because I figured you might ask. It's Addictionland, and it's the raw details of my awesome spiritual awakening from like every freaking addiction under the sun.
Wow.
All right.
I love that. Now, obviously, if they go to your website, CathiMarcusCoaching.com, as you can see, it's on the screen. They can probably obtain your book there, and Amazon as well, or not yet? Yeah,
the link is on my website to Amazon, and that's the only place. Or my trunk of my car, too. I took that one from John. I saw him doing it, and I was like, I'm going to do that, too.
Yeah. I just see the two of you guys outside AA meetings selling your book. Come on. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. No, Cathi, I applaud the decisions you've made and the path you've taken. And it's always good that when you set yourself up to start a new way of life that's about focusing and helping others. And I love that. I think that's incredible. It's a better feeling waking up in the morning doing this work than it is selling pharmaceuticals, right?
I say follow the fulfillment. Like, there's things that can fulfill you. Follow what fulfills you, and you're going to have a great life.
That's why John can never retire, because helping other people is what fulfills him.
I'm
Right.
forever doing that, because as I'm helping them, I'm helping me, because I'm learning from other people. It's not me just being the teacher. I like to be the student also, because as long as you remain teachable, that's how you only can take people as far as you are.
Totally.
And that's just what I learned in life.
And they still take you, right? The newcomers, I'm always learning from everybody. I don't care if you've got years or new.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they just remind me of what I need to do. Sometimes I fall asleep also, like everybody else. I'm a person, I think.
I just want to thank you guys for doing this, for having this forum and helping so many people.
We're doing the best we can to get it out there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Cathi, again, I want to encourage everybody to go CathiMarcusCoaching.com and get some more information. Hopefully we'll have you on the show again, and
and
we'll
follow
get some
us,
more information.
those people out there,
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you like this show or any of our other shows, make sure that you follow us and share it with your friends. And it's important that we get the message out there. We're not spending money trying to like buy Google ads and get all that stuff so we can spread it. We want to spread this naturally, boots on the ground. So
Best way.
that's why John does this. That's why I do it. And Cathi, and your heart follows ours as well, and we appreciate that.
Yes, thanks, Cathi. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's another fine show.
All right. So, Cathi, we'll catch you next time. Thank you very much.
Happy holidays.
Oh, I cut her off a little bit, but she said happy holidays. That's great, John. Another great show. You're right. But it is the holidays. Any wishes for our friends and families out there? And
don't get hung up on if you can't give gifts to people, because most people are broke. All right.
Yeah.
The gift that you're giving them is yourself, well and healthy. Okay. So that's what this is all about. And
that's exactly right.
That's the most important thing, I believe.
That's exactly right. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Cathi, if you could wait in the green room there where you are for just a minute, we'll get back to you in a second. But time for us to close out the show. We'll catch you next time right here on Beat Your Addiction with John Giordano.
And Scott Jones.
I know, it's a tough name. We trip on it. Bye, y'all.
Okay.